Hi guys, it's Crystal. Welcome back to my kitchen/channel. I'm sorry I've been MIA for so long. I had a busy summer going all the places, and towards the end of summer I got sick with that virus that has been going around. And then it was my back to school rush with work in the hair salon, and it is now the beginning of October and it's finally quieted down a little bit. I'm hoping I can get on here more before my Christmas rush, but again, I'm sorry I've been gone for so long. There's so many comments and messages to get back to, and I hope to. I had filmed a ton of stuff over the summer, and I also hope to get that up, but now I don't know. I just didn't get around to editing, and I don't know if it fits the season, so we'll see if I get it up. In the meantime, I thought I'd share what I've been up to. Over the weekend, I made a ton of meat chips, some steak chips as well. My daughter's got to one of the bags, but I was going to show you how I made them, and then at the end of the video show you what they look like. It's now been a couple of days, show you how crispy they are. So let's get into how I made the meat chips, steak chips if you will.
Okay, so I did use a deli slicer for my meat chips. No one was harmed in the video. I left the sound off, but if it makes you squeamish, skip ahead about 5 minutes. I started with a cooked deli ham with no sugar, and it was really low in carbs. I decided to slice the ham first because it was fully cooked, whereas the meat roast was not. So I was fiddling with the right thickness and finally got a thickness I liked, and then I went to town on slicing up the ham. They were cut as thin as I could get them without them losing their shape. I divided them in 2 piles. I put half the pile away just because I didn't know how many slices I would actually need to fill my oven. I then went on to slice up the roasts. I had 3 partially frozen roasts. I find it easier to slice with it frozen. I started with the first one and got the thickness I liked. This is not the roast that I used for my meat chips in this video. The shape of the roast is a little bit different than the one I ended up using, but they still sliced up awesome. Again, this is now the second one that I'm slicing. Which was a little bit more frozen, so I kind of stalled there. Eventually, a little bit further into the roast, I did have a scraps pile going there in the back of the board. I then went on to the last roast. Now this one had more of a round shape to it, which was almost a little bit easier to slice, and the size was a bit smaller than the first 2 roasts, which made it a little bit easier to slice too. I got them a smidgen thinner than I was able to get the other 2 roasts, which worked perfect for the meat chips I made. It was sliced quite thin, so again I went through and sliced it all up. I know that my scraps pile is hanging slightly over the cord. That cord just was a little bit bothersome, but I needed to use that plug. I did continue to slice the roast. The size of this roast was a lot easier for me to work with, and I did like the shape better. So this roast that I am slicing was half of a long outside round roast slab that I had purchased from Costco. So I definitely think when I do this next time, I'll just go with that style because I like the shape of the chips. I went ahead and froze the other 2 piles because they were still frozen and wanted to only make one of the piles for the meat chips. There was no way I could do all 3 piles and eat all those as well. So the other 2 are actually in the freezer. I took the scraps pile and put it in a pan. We made it that night. So for the meat chips, I decided to just spread the slices on a baking sheet. I did a thin layer, and then I decided to keep this seasoning really simple as well. I just used Redmond real salt. I sprinkled a layer, and then I went on to do the next layer. Again, just laying out the slices. And then again, sprinkling it with the Redmond real salt. I continued to do this all the way up to the top of the tray until all the slices were coated with that little bit of salt. I put it back in the fridge while I got my oven ready to make meat chips. So I decided that I would, instead of using baking trays, just use my oven racks. So I had pulled them out of my oven, and I got large parchment paper, measured out to cover each tray. I didn't know how many trays I'd actually need to get through the tray of meat that I had. I only lined 2 and then went to town, starting to lay out the meat slices. And that is the first tray there. I put it in my oven while I went to work on the second tray. Again, laying it out the same way, getting them as close together as I could, without laying on top of each other. And once that was done, I put that in the oven. I did have some more pieces that I decided just to put on a baking tray with a sheet, and I put that one in the bottom. So I set a timer for 2 hours, and I put my baking temperature at 195 degrees Fahrenheit. For the most part, they cooked relatively evenly, but there were a few that were done sooner. So as they were finishing, I kind of just pulled them out and let them cool on the extra tray there. And you can see this is what they looked like once they were all done and out of the oven. Some have a little bit of that grease residue, but I did let them completely cool on a paper towel. I stored them in a paper bag with a paper towel at the bottom, and that was only so they would maintain their crispiness and their chip-like texture. I will let you hear what they sounded like here. So yeah, just really chip-like. I wanted to keep that consistency, so I continued putting them in the bag and folded it up and sealed them with the clip. I did not store these on the countertop or in the pantry or anything. They went directly hidden in the back of the fridge, so as no one would eat them before I had a chance to. And then I didn't do the ham chips the same day. I did them the next day. I was out of parchment paper at this point, so I decided just to spread my baking mats out on my oven racks and place them this way. And I really liked this idea. I'm going to try it next time instead of the parchment paper because they were still super easy to clean, and there's less waste. Because I had more ham than I did the steak, I decided to do all 3 racks, as many as I could. As I got towards the top of my oven, I used a little bit of a thicker baking tray because that's all I had, and I used some of the smaller, I put some of the smaller chips at the top because that's where they tend to take the longest. So I did 2 hours again at 195 degrees Fahrenheit, except 10 minutes in, I could notice a lot more moisture in my oven. I don't know if you can see that moisture there on my door. So I decided to prop in a broken pencil crayon into my door just to prop open the door a little bit while it baked so it could let the moisture out, kind of like how I do my beef jerky. Some of these chips took a lot longer than 2 hours, closer to 3 almost, and you can see I left these ones towards the top so you can see they weren't quite as dark in certain spots there, but they got so much darker, and I let them cool. Here's me eating one. I'm sorry, just wanted you to hear the crunchiness. Again, I'm sorry if it bothers you to hear chewing. I just wanted you to get a full grasp, and I didn't want to turn the camera around and show me eating because I think I had some messy hair going on. But anyways, you get the idea. They were quite crispy, but on the chips that had that little bit of color to them still, I found them a little bit more chewier almost. So I stored them the exact same way, but seeing that I had more chips, I did 2 bags. So I divided the batch in half. Again, there was a paper towel on the bottom just so there would be no moisture or condensation. I folded the bags up, clipped them up. I didn't do as good of a job as hiding these 2. Again, my daughter got into one of the bags.
So I'm gonna open up the chips, not the one my daughter got too. So these are the steak chips here, which are my favorite. I was kind of hoarding them towards the back of the fridge, but they came out so good. Like, these literally sound like chips. I'll get some out on the plate here, just so you can see. I'll probably end up putting them back in the bag. For storaging purposes, this is what I stored them in because I didn't know what to store them in. I didn't want them to get moist. I wanted them to stay crispy. I stored them in the paper bag with a paper towel on the bottom. I keep them in the fridge. That's how I do my beef jerky, except I use a plastic bag. I'm trying to pull away from plastic, so these paper bags seem to be working pretty good. Okay, so these are the ham chips. And they just turned out so much darker because ham is a little bit processed, right? The ham actually was lighter than the steak, but they turned out so dark. They're still good, but just really salty. Whereas these are perfect. I love these. I'm not gonna eat any of these on camera today because I'm not at my eating window yet, but maybe I'll grab Aniston and she can chomp into one for you. But yeah, so these are the ham ones, the steak ones. I've got them on 2 different plates so we can distinguish, but I'll flip the camera around so you can get a closer look. Okay guys, here is a close-up look at the chips. So this again is a couple days after, and they are plated. And this is what they kind of looked like in the bag. I don't think you can actually see. Okay. I'm gonna pull one of the steak chips out here, just break it in half. And that's so crispy and perfect. It tastes perfect, only seasoned with the real Redmond salt, or Redmond's real salt. I know that I was inspired to do these chips because of Carnivore crisps and even Maria Emmerich's protein sparing chips. I know Carnivore crisps uses all sorts of meats, and then Maria Emmerich uses deli chicken. So I thought I could try the ham, but they're just really salty. When I've tried Maria Emmerich's protein sparing chips with the chicken, I almost preferred that versus this ham. But these take the cake. I love these. So let me show you the difference there. And not that these aren't good, because they are good. They're just saltier than my liking, and then they're a little bit more processed for my liking. So I'm going to, next time I'm gonna try pork this way, and I may even try chicken breast, straight up whole chicken breast, unprocessed, try slicing it up myself, and the steak worked out really well though. But I'll link Maria Emmerich's video below too for the protein sparing chips if any of you all haven't seen it. It's really good. But yeah,
so I'm just gonna randomly throw another clip into this video and show you how I've been eating these ham chips because they are saltier. I've been using dry curd cottage cheese, which is super low in carbs, by the way, whereas your traditional one has more. This only has 1 net carb per quarter cup, and it's really high in protein. So I scoop a fair amount out into a bowl. The reason I eat so many meat chip things and beef jerky and stuff like that is because I top off if I'm still hungry, or I eat it while I'm making my food if I'm hungry and ravenous. I always like to have something like this on hand. I added some everything but the bagel seasoning to the bowl just to give it extra seasoning without salt, because again, the ham chips are salty, and this one's really clean. It has no seed oils in it or anything like that. And yeah, I just thought I'd share how I've been eating these. I pretty much put some chips in the bowl, and then I can scoop right into the cottage cheese and eat it just like that. Again, it's nice to have on hand, ready to go if I'm hungry or need a top up.
But maybe I'll take one of these steak chips out, which one is the steak? And then I'll call over Aniston, who happens to have some faded face paint on her face, which is fine. She had a thing at school today. Okay, so Anna, who wants to? Okay, so do you want to do the steak or the ham one first?
Steak. The
steak one. I don't know if you guys can see her.
Is this made with thin pieces or steak?
Yeah, this is just thin outside rounds. Yeah, I like it. I really like this. I'm gonna be making this a lot more often. Okay. Well, do you want to try the ham one? So Lila's been the one that's sneaking all the ham. This is steak. All the ham. She really likes them. I find them, yeah, saltier. Okay, so this is the ham.
Is there soy sauce?
No, that's just ham. That's not seasoned at all. But I found these a little bit tougher to chew, and yeah, I really like the steak. I'll make these again, but I do prefer these. I have to figure out a way not to get them.
These are like high carb.
So I don't know if this shows up in the camera. Like I almost undercooked this one slightly because you can still see some of the pink of the ham. But then when you do that, it makes it a little bit, like it makes it a little bit too chewy, like not as crispy, like
if you
where
don't
you have
cook
to
it enough, it's not like crispy.
But I'm definitely gonna be making these again. So anyways, that's it guys. I thought I'd share that with you. I'm sorry I've been MIA for so long. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell and all the things. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.
Do you want your steak one? You want to finish your steak one?